Russell. I'm not going to perform for you. As he said, each year I have this great privilege to choose a music director for the festival. It's really a chief musical partner with whom we then build a festival. Each music director is different and unique, and we change every year, which absolutely assures that all the planning starts with a completely blank sheet of paper. And the goal is to create a festival that fulfills the ideals of the Ojai Music Festival and also illuminates the artistic personality of the music director. The resulting festivals, which we are now sort of been creating, are jam-packed total immersion marathons with over 25 events in 4 days. It is an adventure, it's a ride, and nothing overlaps, so if you want, you can go to absolutely everything. This year, the music director is Patricia Kopatchinskaja. She first came to my attention about 4 years ago from a musical friend who said, "You must know this person." I didn't know her, so I got all of her recordings, was completely taken. I went to hear you play live in November 2015, and then we had lunch, and I found that her personality was as infectious as her performing, so I simply invited her to be music director at that first lunch. What makes her distinctive? Patricia Kopatchinskaja, or Pat Kop, as she calls herself, throws herself completely into whatever she's doing. Performing, thinking, collaborating, or just talking, as you'll hear. She's an explosive virtuoso, fearless, curious, jaw-dropping, totally compelling. She just brings you in. She connects with people. Has some kind of magical alchemy that creates instant and vibrant bonds with everybody. She's a whirling dervish of effervescent energy, at once direct, honest, mysterious, and mischievous. Ladies and gentlemen, Patricia Kopatchinskaja. What we're going to do this evening is have a conversation about her life, about music, about the festival. We're going to interject it with a few short videos. And at the end, she will play something for us. And we'll leave a little time for any questions you may have of her. I want to start, Patricia, with a quote from you. You've been rapturously praised as one of the most exciting violinists in the world, but you've been quoted as saying, "I'm not really interested in the violin, and I'm not really a violinist." So, what are you?
I don't know.
It's a good answer.
When I play, I know for what I am on stage, but privately, I'm a very simple nobody, just a part of this cosmos, enjoying my wonderful life. But I'm a bit bored if I wouldn't explore my imagination, because the everyday's life is exciting, but I think the parallel life which a musician can really live in music, this is just a fantastic world which I wouldn't want to miss. So I'm very happy to be in this profession, so to say, but I don't consider myself as a professional or not. It's much more very passionate love and curiosity, if I can call it a profession, than okay, then I'm a professional lover and searcher.
You emigrated to Vienna and studied at the Vienna Academy of Music at an early age. And it appeared that you were studying, getting ready for a very traditional musical life. But then things started to develop and you developed other interests and went in many different directions.
Well, I was never a traditional student kind. I was a problematic student for every single teacher, but they still somehow we are still good when I meet them. They embrace me, and so we are friends. But I remember one professor said to the students, "Do not repeat what she does. She may do it, but forget it immediately. It's not." And the other ones told me that you are a stone which I cannot. It's a diamond which I cannot form. Mm-hmm. So it's. I don't know if I would be a teacher if I would want to have such a student, but I'm sure that somehow we inspired each other. So when I heard the word no, I was trying to make it to yes. When I heard yes, I tried to turn it to no, and so it was always very, very interesting because there was never a result. It was always a new question.
I hope in the course of this evening you will get a picture for this remarkable artist, but I'd like to show a short video which a friend of yours made a year ago in St. Paul. And it's a very short portrait of you, which I think captures a lot of these elements, and I think it says you. So let's look at Being Pat. That's not Being Pat.
We are looking so much for magic. I think the only way to find it is to let my thoughts be free, not to have a plan. So here we go. The climate is going worse and worse. I'm getting older. Nail polish, I don't need it. I don't know how to call myself. My husband tells me Patti. My parents say Patricia. Some people say Patricia, Patricia. I hate my name. I hate this word. What are you doing if you're an artist? Everyone is an artist of his own garden. There are too many things happening. There is so much going on. So when I play, I try not to be disturbed by anybody.
What are you doing here? No.
If I could really listen deeper. Even deeper.
No.
I don't like a good sound.
No.
Sound is something personal. It can be like or like. It's important not to be liked. Many people hate my playing. Of course you care, but it's I'm not Facebook. Kafka fragments. Restless. This is the name of this piece. Fragments.
Melone. Клубника.
Most difficult part of my job is being alone. I try to get into an empty space. Waiting, searching. I don't know where am I? I play violin because it's a coincidence. Everything is out of my control. But that is magic. Like falling in love. Especially in today's world. It's a chaos. What is really important is the good energy. Even objects need good energy. We need to remember us as we were as children. Pure and daring.
Fantastic. Patricia, you've written that composition and contemporary music influence your approach to older music. Tell us about how does that work?
When I was young, very young, I composed a lot. And this was the center of my creativity.
Can you all hear? That's good, good.
So, having had my hands in, how do you call it, when you make a bread? First it's...
Kneading.
Yes. I was fascinated by seeing through the score, by guessing what would be if the composer would write this way or this way, and what is the fascination of every single piece. So afterwards, when I played it, I tried to show it as if I have been this composer. And I guess it's quite illegal in conservatories to imagine that I am the composer, but I think this is the only way of telling a story, a really personal story, out of the piece. And I think this is also the most interesting, to go inside to the roots, to become the piece, like Stanislavski said. You have to be the role you play. And this becomes sometimes terrifying. For example, playing music of Galina Ustvolskaya, you literally become bleeding fingers. Yeah, when Markus Hinterhäuser plays this music, the wonderful pianist and the director of Salzburg Festival, who will join Ojai Festival in this year, he says that he barely. You really suffer when you play this music, and I think it is important to suffer. Only then you can tell the truth about this music. But also playing, for example, Mozart. Last week I was learning Mozart Symphony, something very, very well known. I was studying with St. Paul Chamber Orchestra, and I had a strange thought. The most known pieces which we consider ourselves to be highly educated people and to know and love culture, so of course we know this symphony. Of course, we heard it millions of times, but there are so many places which we actually don't hear anymore. And all the surprises are completely muted down because we heard them too many times. So, and I don't know the solution against it. It's like we are in a I don't know, in a hospital, and we don't feel anymore something. We have to take these composers out of sleeping.
Wake them up.
To wake them up and to try to dance with these skeletons, actually. So it's a very weird thing to become again a part of this old world, to believe into their rules, to construct again a sonata form, to surprise people who don't feel the surprise anymore in our times. It's a complicated process.
A work that you have recorded and have played a lot, in fact, you will play in Ojai, is the Beethoven Violin Concerto. There's an example of a very well-known iconic piece, but you approached it in a somewhat different way, and really starting with Beethoven.
Well, yes. You mean the Cadenza?
No, just generally, sort of the improvisatory nature of it and how you approach the whole piece. Then we'll show a video of the Cadenza.
Well, this man was actually very famous in his time for his ability to improvise. And, for example, when he wrote his Kreutzer Sonata, he wrote it for a very popular young violinist, George Bridgetower. And in the very premiere of this piece, George Bridgetower started to play with him together the C major passage, just together with him. It was not written in his music. And many critics of our time would say, oh no, this is something prohibited, you may not play what is not written in your score. But what did Mr. Beethoven? He stood up and happily embraced George Bridgetower and said, noch einmal, mein lieber Bursch, once again, my dear friend. He was completely fascinated by this gesture. So I think we treat this old music in a very wrong way, and it's a complete misunderstanding of playing music when we think that it's enough to play right notes in the right time, in the right style, in a perfect way. It's not the piece. It's just its surface. But what we musicians have to do is to come into the heart of this piece, into the soul of this piece. And this is indeed very playful and joyful. And sometimes it can also shock and provoke. But it's always a game. You know, play. Remember your childhood. The word play is something very creative. Imagine to come into a room full with toys. And children always have the infinite imagination to create new games with the same toys. And this is so interesting to me. This is what we have to do, musicians who are forced to play always the same pieces. So we have to invent new games.
I'd like to play another short video excerpt of the Cadenza of the Beethoven Violin Concerto that you perform, and then we'll ask a question of everyone after. So let's hear this. This is the Cadenza from the first movement of the Beethoven Violin Concerto. Who? Is that you improvising? Did you write that? Where did that cadenza?
Oh, no, not one single note. Almost. No, it was written by Beethoven, and we have this cadenza because he arranged the violin concerto for piano, and it was a present for the wedding for his very dear friend Stefan von Breuningen, and I think it's a wonderful thing to understand how he actually himself imagined a cadenza, because there is, as you noticed, a marcia, boom, boom, dum, ba-do, rum, boom, 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 which has nothing to do with this concerto. I mean, yeah, this marcia, you don't hear it again. It's probably just a joke, but I think he composed, as many composers compose at the same time many different things. He also composed in that time, for example, Fidelio, and I imagine him as a very chaotic personality. As we know, he was also very sanguinic person, choleric, if not to say choleric. So all his desk was full of different sketches, right? And he had so many sketches. And once he waked up and thought, oh, I have to write a cadenza for my friend. And so he took the wrong paper. And on this paper, he already had something written for Fidelio. But okay, he used also this one. And then he said, why not? Actually, it's not so bad. Why don't I use it also for the piano concerto, violin concerto? So, and I think it's fascinating to see how freely they just used all the material around them, and how joyful it was. And many conductors don't know at all, and they're asking me, is it Schnittke? Do you improvise? I say, no, it's Beethoven, really. And then I bring them the score, the notes, then they start to believe it, but not really.
So let's talk a little bit about what's coming in Ojai. And you've devised a couple of what you call staged concerts. And the opening night is a program called Bye Bye Beethoven, which the Beethoven Violin Concerto features in. We don't want to give away any of the surprises, of course, but what's behind your thinking with this project?
Well, we start very symbolically. How I found the first piece so beautiful to start a festival. Luigi Nono, La lontananza nostalgica utopica futura, and it's about everything what an so-called artist should should be. We are a part of a way. Sometimes we have to build this way because it didn't exist before, or we have to discover it again. And this is the spirit, I think, also of Ojai. No, mm-hmm. I feel very honored to do so many concerts in this festival, which is absolutely unique in the whole world. And going on with Nono, continuing to play its last note, coming into the next concert, I thought it's very poetic to start the unanswered question of Charles Ives, which starts also with G.
And the Nono is for solo violin and electronics.
And the electronics, and we will play it in the park.
So it's a free concert, so you're moving around and the
Yes.
audience is moving around.
I hope the audience is moving around as well, because it's also about the audience. We musicians are nothing without you. And actually, in the end, the result of the music is in your head, not so much in our head. We are just a medium. We have to translate, transform, there is no right word, but we have to illuminate it or to give it to you, and then it's actually your story. And it will be in every head of you different, because you all have different dictionaries in your imagination, in your life. You all have different vocabulary, right? And different associations as well. There are completely crazy people in the audience, so they will have, I don't know what kind of impression, and there are other people they will. And this is very fascinating to me, how many possibilities has one piece to be played, to be heard, to be understood, to be analyzed, to be. It has so many more possibilities than a word. A word is very limited, but music is completely free, and it never ends, and you cannot really capture it somewhere. A recording is actually like a surgery of a perfect face. You can cut everything. In nowadays, you can make it faster, you can make it slow, you can make it higher, the pitch or low. It's incredible. It's terrifying what you can do in the studio. So don't believe to a recording. Only live concert is true. Is really true, and it is full of imperfectness. And I always ask people in classical music, please let us fail, because it's so important. When our brain focuses on perfectness, we have no space for creativity. We then are a part of this petrified world, and then we are just trying to do the right thing. But I don't think it's the sense of music. Music sometimes has to go completely wrong, and then it finds a totally new territory, and then it develops, and then there is a future.
And at that first concert with Bye Bye Beethoven, you having led people to start wandering and thinking the path, they go to what appears to be a standard concert, but it's really about raising questions.
It's about also a despair about a classical music routine. I don't know how is it in Los Angeles. I guess you are in a better position here. There is a fantastic orchestra and phenomenal programs, and of course you have Ojai here, so there is nothing to complain. But I'm a musician who plays everywhere in the world, and I still can say that there are many organizers, but also audiences who are still, they fear contemporary music. And this is a big issue to me, because I think the most important for every artist should be the contemporary art, the reflection on our time. And who is better than people who are alive to speak about it? We can try to find relevant things in Beethoven, in Haydn, in Mozart, but we really have to transform this music into our time, and it's a complex process. But contemporary music is just like a piece of newspaper. You read it and you understand it immediately. There is no question about tradition, about right and wrong. You just play it. And it's a language which should be very simply and understandable. And you do it in Ojai, but it's not everywhere. You should know it.
A young composer who you have championed, Michael Hirsch, is writing a new piece for us, and will have a presence in Ojai playing some of his other music. You got to know Michael relatively recently, like 2 or 3 years ago, when you played his violin concerto.
Yes, I was terrifying, but by this compromiselessness. Is it such a word?
Yeah, lack of any compromise, yeah.
Yeah, so no prisoners. And
That's better.
I thought this is so good that someone has the courage just to do it, to say it. And I don't think he ever got compliments for it, or he has fans of it. His music is not enjoyable, yeah? But it's unforgettable. And I think this is a good sign, and this is much more valuable than anything else. Art is isn't always beautiful, and it's not about having fun. It's also about having fun, of course, and it should be also entertaining and so far. But still, if you want to enjoy, really to enjoy, to go to a massage salon. It's very enjoyable, but not to a concert. Even a concert with pop music, with any style, the people will tell you things which are relevant to them, and they will raise topics which are actual. And this is always such an issue, to actualize a classical music and not to become a priest who just tells you the truth out of the book, and you are the listener and you believe to it and you go home and live your life. It's all about communication, dialogue, questioning. And for me, Michael Hirsch is kind of hero, because he's dealing with the darkest side of music, and this darkness is so incredibly painful, but it is also so rich of information. And I once thought, I see so much more things in this darkness than in the light, that but I can't play it forever. This it hurts, really.
Another composer that will be featured is Ligety, and yay. In fact, we will end this whole journey, starting with the Nono, with the Ligety Violin Concerto, which is one of the great pieces, and it's
Yes.
a piece that you wildly believe in.
I love it very much. This is something what really is fun. First, you have to suffer a lot just to practice as much as possible, and then to believe to all gods and to trust to all angels that it comes together, because it is over the limit of virtuosity. And it's not difficult. It's difficult not only for the soloist, but for every single one member of this happening. And it is a tremendously rich score. When you start to look at it, it's just so interesting. You find every time a new line here and there. And I think he's kind of scientist. He came from a Jewish family, and they were not really allowed to. I think he wanted to be a scientist. Really, he wanted to be a mathematician, but he had to do music. So he started to experiment with music, and it's a lot of different structures, influenced by different styles and epochs. For example, you have ocarinas in the orchestra. Yeah, this is a 1,000 years old instruments, not the instrument itself, but the ocarinas.
Like they were called at one point sweet potatoes
Sweet potato.
in America.
Yeah. And so they sound wonderfully dirty. You know, the intonation is not perfect, and it is written, do not try to tune them. Or in the score, you sometimes find marks like for the bassoon player. Yeah, there is this place he's like do 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 do, and he wrote, "It is possible." it's fantastic. I just love it. And then you have structures from Notre Dame school, for example. You have hoquetus. Yeah, this is a structure that you write one melody, but you put it for many different instruments. So you hear one melody here and there, and there, and there, and there, and there, and then here, and it's a very old form, but you think it's completely new. Or of course you feel his love to Gesualdo, to Machaut. You find everything in this music. You also find this melody which you find in so many other pieces, like in Musica ricercata, in bagatelles. But this time it's completely alone, so the violin starts alone. And I always thought about his brother and his father, who died in concentration camp in Germany. Ligety himself survived, his mother survived, his wife survived. He had to escape from Nazis, from communists, from he was a survivor from everywhere. So coming to Germany, actually Stockhausen helped him to get along into his new life. But I think this concerto is a sum of all of his ideas. It's a masterpiece, and you must hear it.
We're going to play another short video excerpt, which is the performance you gave of the Ligety with the Berlin Philharmonic a year ago, February. And this is the final cadenza, which leads to one of the most extraordinary endings of a concerto you'll ever hear. Yes? And is this your creation, this cadenza, or
Well,
Ligety plus you?
It is officially allowed, and he encourages every soloist to write his own cadenza, which I love so much. You know, many contemporary composers don't really trust soloists, so they write everything down. It is not a good idea because, but Ligety is just. In fact, he was not a very easy person. Yeah, I wonder how he came up with this idea. But anyway, so the soloist is completely free. But what we did is probably quite illegal, and I maybe may say that I'm happy he is not anymore alive, because he would maybe kill me after that. But Simon Rattle was immediately up for it, so we just did it.
Let's watch this short video. Amazing. You never cease to amaze me with what you're sort of trying to do. You're always searching. And about 2 months ago, you sent me a note and said, I'm completely tied up for the next 2 weeks because I'm making a film of a piece by Kurt Schwitters called the Ursonate. Actually, Ojai has performed the Ursonate twice. It's a piece for sort of nonsensical verse. Where did you come across this, and what did you do here?
I wanted to do something completely different. So nothing to do with the violin, nothing to do with music, but what could it be? And so I thought, why not to try out how is it to make a movie? I mean, I know it's stupid, but I got a prize from Switzerland. It was 100,000 of Swiss francs, and I thought, I think now I'm just going to spend some money. But it was ridiculously cheap, actually, to make a movie. I discovered it's possible. And so I wanted to limit everything to almost nothing. How can you make a story out of this nonsense? And it's a Dadaistic work. We took just the first movement. We brainstormed with my friends. And what we found out is that there are 4 themes. So, sonata, Ursonate. When you say Urtext, Ursonate, in German you say also Urlaute, Urlaut, like basic sounds. Like, how to say the burbing? Whoop, the burbing?
Yeah.
Yes? And other sounds, I don't want to. So, but there are many basic natural sounds our body can do, but we use just the burbing one, for example. But, so we had 4 voices, and initially I wanted to do it myself, all 4 different characters, but I thought, why don't I ask some friends, if they are free, let's do it. And we did it at home, in our house. So I bought many meters of black fabric and just put on all the walls, and asked a friend from Brussels to come over with his camera, and a sound engineer, and so these 4 friends, which are non-actors, they are musicians, and we had the idea that what can we do with 4 characters? So we have, for example, the phlegmatic, sanguinic, choleric, and melancholic. Why not to do these kind of differences? And then my imagination of the sonata form was always something very natural. The exposition is something you eat, the development is the digesting of what you just ate, and the reprise is just the same but in a different... The excess, yes, let's say, yeah. So we thought, let's use just toilet paper, symbolically, and these 4 different characters. And let's see what we can do. And we basically improvised.
It's basically a 13-minute film. We're not going to show the whole film, but you did a trailer for the film. So and it's just possible you might see the film in Ojai. Yeah. Let's just watch the trailer for the Ursonate.
Fums bevedete, to the baby, fums. Rocket the baby, rocket the baby. Rumpf tilfto. Fums bevedete, boogie.
Biff, tilf, to.
Rumpf tilfto. Böve, fums be, böve, fums be, fums be, fums be.
So you have a portrait, I think, of the incredible imagination and artistry of this amazing person. And throughout the Ojai Festival, it's our hope to convey an even richer portrait through these 4 days of incredible concerts. But you really only get the complete view of you to actually hear you play the violin. So might you do something at the end of this?